Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode, Space Brothers. They're brothers in space. Welcome, everybody. June 11th, as crowds packed the theaters and screamed for the first time at the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, "I was born!" Moxie the Yeen, and on... You're kidding me. And on April 12th, my co-host blazed his way into the world. It's Isekai Sensei-Sama Brad. 20. Did I say 12?
You just said 12.
I wrote 20th. That's the gag.
I could tell that was the gag.
I've been April 20th a little too much, brother. It's Isekai Sensei-Sama Brad. Brad, how you doing?
Oh, you want to leave that all in?
That's because it's funnier.
All right.
Because it's what it is. It's funnier. Okay. He's born on 420, guys. It's funny. That's the gag.
It's funny because that's Hitler's birthday.
I chose to do weed instead. I was born when Jurassic Park came out, which I did not know that until I looked this up.
You looked it up. Okay.
Well, that was the thing. I looked up the dates, but you didn't give me a year, and I didn't want to dox you, so I just... And also, it was just funny enough to do the bit that I was like, you're kidding me.
All the stuff about April 20th.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to choose from. I guess that's the opening bit for you. Hi, everybody. We're continuing the sci-fi arc. We are now at Space Brothers. Space Brother is not wrestlers in space. This was suggested to us by a friend of the show, Gray Potter, over on the Flopcord. Yeah. So thank you to them. This was a good time. Space Brothers.
You can't find them right now because they've changed their name.
Are they hiding? Are they one of the Ichi cosplayers?
What are they? Are they Death for Death right now?
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Space Brothers is by Chuya Koyama. It started in December 6, 2007, and supposedly from Wikipedia is still running now, which I found very surprising.
Wait, what?
I think it was, you could do a Google machine yourself, but when I was looking for my information, it seemed like it was still coming out.
I thought it was completed.
That wasn't the vibe that I got from the Wikipedia page, but I will happily take another thing because I was confused because this didn't seem like a series that would be running since 2007 unless chapters only came out like once a month or once a season. It doesn't feel like a decade spanning epic. But maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe they get to space and then they have other adventures. I genuinely don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Right?
As of July 23rd, 2024, 44 volumes have been released.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I know, right? Right? Like, I had a good time with it. We'll get into it. But I'm just very, like, that was when I was like, wow, really? Like, am I missing something?
Yeah. Like, what?
This feels very like I'm here and I'm done within like a dozen volumes or less.
Here's a chapter list. There's
400.
Yeah. The 44th volume, July 23rd.
Isn't that wild?
Why?
I know. Well, I want to get into that. I'm gonna ask that question when we try to pick it up next later. But let me first get through my Moxie's Mox Speed manga summary. On October 28th, 1993, the agony of Doha. Japan lets out a collective frustrated sigh at their soccer team's weakness, prompting a sudden 2% spike in CO2 in the country. At that moment, he was born. 3 years later, on September 17th, 1996, Japanese pitcher Nomo pitched a no-hitter shutout in the American Major Leagues. At this moment, his brother was born. Then 10 years later, on July 9th, 2006, when during the finals of World Cup, Sedan headbutted another player, the two brothers were out in the woods, recording sounds on their tape decks, the older brother making sure to go before the younger brother. Suddenly, they see a massive flaming shape in the sky. Then it lights up brightly and moves towards the moon. Houston, Texas, 2025. Wow. Very fitting. At a NASA press conference, a man talks about their mission to return to the moon and set up a colony as a dry run for colonizing Mars. A man in the audience jokes about this mission really being about finding the UFO, and that a man on the team is already familiar with that, the younger brother from earlier. Just the other day, he described that experience as a child on television, but he wasn't sure what it was, just that it was the impetuous to what led him there now. He is Hibito Namba. He's asked how he feels being the first Japanese person to step on the moon's surface. He says there is one person who blah blah blah. He says there is one person who should have set foot on the moon before him, and it's a shame he isn't present. Cut away to Japan, and it's the older brother remarking on the irony he's being carted away in an award-winning vehicle that he designed. His former coworkers don't know what to say about him losing his job, but he's used to it, being born on the day of the agony of Doha. Before he pulls away, he offers one last piece of advice. Don't headbutt your boss like I did. This is Muta Namba, who left his automotive job after headbutting his boss for talking shit about his brother, and is now headed to live with his family, unemployed. It is now 3 weeks later, and the family eat dinner while watching a Steven Seagal movie. Enthusiasm from his parents has waned quickly, as Muta has remained here, jobless. He's been trying, but his head-butted boss has seemingly made him persona non grata after that incident, so he's going to have to search elsewhere for employment. He eats a burger at Mo-Donald's, not McDonald's, Mo-Donald's. But wait, it looks like that burger looks like that spaceship he saw when he was a kid, and he thinks of his brother. As an older brother, it was always his job to go ahead of his younger brother, but he could just never catch up to him. Later, Hibito, the younger brother, is chatting with his mother about Muta, where she let slip his headbutt termination situation. A depressed Muta lays in his room, seeing the picture on the wall of the two of them and Mori-san, who I only assume is a Japanese dude that went to space. Yeah. I should have Googled him. I did not. Mori-san, as if he is pushing them forward on their path to space. My brother is going to the moon, but I am going nowhere. Farewell. Then Muta gets a message from his brother. If you haven't decided on a new job, go listen to the tape we made back in the woods on July 9th, 2006. After a little digging, he finds it. Muta hasn't listened to it in ages, but Hibito treasures his like a relic. He listens to the tape, recreating the scene in his head before. A strange noise he doesn't remember being there before. The UFO. Then Kid Hibito says that he's going to be an astronaut someday and go to the moon before Kid Muta can. Muta responds that big brothers have to go ahead. If you're going to the moon, I'm going to the Mars. Going to Mars.
I mean, there is only one, so.
I'm going to eat a Mars bar.
The Mars.
It's a promise we'll both be astronauts. Those were the words Hibito wanted his older brother to hear, to keep that promise. It's a month later, and Muta is a parking attendant, which is ironic that he's ticking in a car that he helped design. He doesn't want to be here at this shitty job. He wants to be home learning about space. At home, a letter arrives from JAXA, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. What a good pick for an acronym, like genuinely. For somebody who has to work with a lot of crappy acronyms, JAXA is like tops. His mom secretly sent in his resume. His application has been accepted for the new astronaut qualification examinations. When Muta sees it, he can't recall what face he made, but it was probably something really scrunched up, like laughing or sobbing. I liked this.
Yeah.
It had a very quirky human quality to it.
We didn't go anywhere yet.
No.
So
this is a very grounded for space arc of space. We're very grounded, but it's about going to space, but in a very grounded-y way.
I was very much like, I wonder what this is going to be, because especially now learning how many chapters there are.
This 44 volumes is like
they're definitely in space.
This feels so autobiographical.
Yeah.
Everything's so like with the dates and the little like, I love how it opens with the like, this is happening at this moment, you know, and then I was born in that moment, and then here's this other moment, and here's like, and all of them being sports related because I guess that's what they watch. Like it feels too autobiographical to be 44 volumes, which I guess is going to hang above us as we discuss it.
I mean, it feels like one of those ones where we've read the intro, and then it's like, and the rest of the series is nothing like this. maybe so, because it's like, I'd be like, he's working on becoming an astronaut, but it's just like, does he go to space? Is he like, he's the older brother? Like, I mean, it's called Space Brothers, so yes.
I feel like they both go to space, but it's like, when do they go? How many? It's a sports manga. How long until they go into space? How long until they're space brothers? Does he go to Mars? Do we have to do all of the moon before we like? I have no idea.
Do aliens show up and then it's like...
what was the deal with that UFO? Like,
it's about aliens, actually, and...
I'm so curious. Is this an aliens area? We should have covered that.
Well, it's a sports manga, so it's Aliens Arena.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. That's exactly... But I mean, I'm joking. Like, I feel bad that 44 volumes is hanging above us like this weird confusion. I guess that's our UFO of like, what was that?
Yeah.
But just like,
what the hell?
I don't think we've read too much like this.
No.
That's very like quirky. And have we read something that's like quirky?
I mean,
like we've read funny and silly things, but like,
yeah,
this is such a personal hand to it.
I'm sure there's something we've covered a lot of stuff.
We've covered a lot.
This is
episode 60. 59 manga, none of them quirky.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I want to say more things, but I don't know. How'd you get on with it?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I like there's actually something there where I'm like, I feel like something bigger is supposed to be going on, but this is just the beginning of it. That sort of like anticipation. And I sort of wanted this first chapter to get to something, and it didn't. But it's not a bad feeling. It's like that it's this thing in your gut where you're like, come on.
There's something, but you can sense something. Like, I just love the like multiple time, like just that little thing of like, it's really funny. I'm getting carted away from my automotive job in a car that I designed, and then the ticketing. Like, there's a certain like this manga has my sense of like divine comedy of like, even while he is suffering, he can see the comedy in the situation. I glossed over little moments like that. They make a point when. I love that they're watching Steven Seagal movies at dinner, because I was like, I saw the image before I read the text, and I'm like,
oh my God, the passive aggressive, like, we're having strawberries for dessert.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to.
3.
You get 3 strawberries, everybody else gets 5. And it's like, you just get an instant sense of what their family dynamic, like, again, like things communicate, like a vibe communicated so clearly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Wes Anderson could do a good job with this first chapter. Like, it's very specific.
Have you seen
quirky.
Asteroid City?
I have. I loved Asteroid City.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
I haven't actually watched the whole thing yet.
Oh, because you activated. I know I renamed your stand. What did I call it originally? I called it
Stupid.
No, that's what I started calling it. I called it something else before that. Oh, I called it Everything You Know Is Wrong. Oh. But that sounded like I was declaring that at you. But I guess Dare to Be Stupid is the same thing. But it's like, I still feel like I haven't quite found it yet to fully grasp its power in a singular concept. But like, I'm getting closer. But yeah, of course you've seen just clips and not the whole thing.
I've watched enough of it where I'm like, I should probably watch this whole thing.
You should emotionally take it in as one contiguous piece, as we are hopefully going to do, as I'm going to do with this manga, but probably not 44 volumes. But I am going to keep. I'm getting ahead of the thing.
But yes, this would probably be pretty cool.
This would be a fun Wes Anderson thing, because it's got a quirkiness, but it's got a groundedness. Like, it just, like I said, you can feel the author's history in hand in every little corner of things happening. I love the bait and switch of the like, I'm gonna be an astronaut, and then it's like he's a meter maid. He's like at such a low point. Yeah. I loved him getting a burger. The burger looks like the UFO. Like, they're just these fun visual moments that help the story along. Let's see, the art. I like the art. The art is also similarly quirky.
So this is weird for me, because this exists in that space that's sort of in between old and new styles.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And so I kept like
this
vacillating.
Manga from 2007.
Yeah, I kept vacillating between this, like, do I not like this art style, or is it okay? And just sort of back and forth, and it's like, I guess it's fine.
You know what this reminded me of? Just in general vibe. I mean, obviously, like, it gets, I mean, we've only read one chapter. Who knows? This makes me think of Mob Psycho.
Okay.
Because it's got a grounded quirkiness to it. But also there's like some other stuff going on. But like, we're only on chapter 1, so I don't know how much other stuff there is yet. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so curious. So I guess, like, I feel like I wish I didn't write down that we knew that we're 44 volumes. I wish I would have forgotten that, and I wish you didn't know that information, because it makes trying to navel gaze about where this is going. Also, that's not how you use the term navel gaze. Like, I'm so much more confused where we're going. Like, I guess we get to space at some point. Like, it seems grounded enough that we're specifically like, this is the JXA, and this is an actual Japanese astronaut guy, and like, I think Actual World has talked about wanting to set up a colony on the moon, I'd love to see that in my lifetime.
I'm thinking like, I don't think a series goes for 44 volumes if they're just doing normal things. Like if they were literally just going to the moon and going to Mars in like our normal, this is our real world technology and everything.
This is already like Brothers going into space is already in like this grounded is already fascinating enough to me. And then there's just that looming strangeness of the UFO that goes to the moon.
Yeah, I feel like
they like reinforce that because it makes a weird sound he doesn't remember. And
I feel like there's got to be some kind of science fiction thing to it. Because now it's too grounded.
That's why it's so strange that it's autobiographical.
Yeah.
Because at some point, I don't think I'd say full on the sentence shit's popping off, but like at some point something strange is going to happen.
And it's a question of when. How long does it go before things get weird? Knowing that there's 44 volumes, knowing that there's 400 some chapters.
44 chapters, sure, fine, whatever. 44 volumes.
Yeah.
That's not case closed numbers because case closed is at like 100 volumes.
Yeah.
Because it's around the same length as One Piece, which is over 100. But
it's the thing where like,
when does the Great Ninja War happen?
Right. Because I could see a scenario where things get crazy immediately. Like that's the thing that gets the older brother moving along his path is something crazy is going on. But I could also see it where it's like, hey, things are normal for 10 volumes. And then all of a sudden the aliens show up.
They get teleported to space, they get teleported to the moon, and they have to deal with a wacky adventure together and deal with like the very like human thing of like, I love the reoccurring thing. I made sure to like capture it in the summary of like older brother has to go first.
Yeah. I think like it's not that it can't do normal stuff. It's almost that it has to do weird stuff in order to go on for that long.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a question of when.
That's a good question. When are they going to play rugby? I feel like I'm looking at our other things that we usually talk about, the more of the less of something to add. To treat this one, and maybe it's just because it feels like it has so much authorial hand. I feel like there's certain manga, maybe the last episode you listened to, where it's just like, I have criticism and things that should be changed. And this one, it's just like, this is a manga that is.
Yeah.
I can't, from this first chapter, I genuinely can't ask anything of it. And that doesn't make it, like, the most amazing manga that has ever been. But, like, it is perfectly shaped like itself. Does that make sense? I know that, like, this technically...
This is the hole that's made for it.
Yes. Like, technically, if you think about it for more than a second, that sentence means nothing. But, like, you know what I mean by that. This manga is perfectly shaped like itself. Yeah. It's not like, oh, they could have tightened this up, or which is like, it's just like, this is what it was supposed to be, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I have no major, like, I can only comment on what's happened and liking that and being bewildered at what will happen next. I can't be like, because so many other manga could be like, oh, I hope we see more of this, or I want to see less of this. It's just like,
my gut tells me maybe.
I want to eat more of this meal, but I don't really know what I'm eating yet. But this author has shown me, I've gained trust in this author that, like, they can make compelling characters and can make compelling situations.
This chapter was the light appetizer you get at a steakhouse, where it's like, you haven't had that steak yet. You don't know if you're going to get like a super heavy thing with a huge side of mashed potatoes, or if it's going to be a tiny little fillet.
You don't get to decide.
But the appetizer you got was like one of those things where it's like caviar on a cracker or whatever, and you're like, this is good. There's not much here, but it's good. Like, what's the rest of it going to be like?
I'm salivating at a thing that I don't quite know what it is yet.
Yeah.
Have we been this... I don't want to use the word lost, but that's all coming. Have we ever been this lost in a chapter 1?
I feel like
we have. I feel like I should just constantly have
like
on the
every
wall.
episode you go, have we ever before? Have we ever before? And I feel like yes, we
Clearly,
have to have at some point. Is this the one?
Is this the one where I feel the most? I know. I'm sure there's other ones where we had it. I feel like, I mean, literally just early in this arc we had with Planetes, where I was just like, our Gantz was like, I have no fucking clue. But I don't think I've ever been so like serene when I said that.
Yeah.
Planetes was more of just like, it was like, because Planetes was like, this feels like it's going to be
confused, positive.
Confused, curious, positive. Yeah.
There's definitely something here. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
The first chapter was pleasant. It was a pleasant time.
Pleasant. That feels too like that's the weird thing where it's like pleasant feels too low because
I know
it's just like pleasant makes me think it was fine.
It's not quite the word that you want to use, but you can't really go grander than that, can you?
No. Like saying like I got to figure out am I good because what I guess let's get there conclusions feelings
okay.
Like I think this is good, but I want to add a parenthesis thing to it because I feel like I think it needs. I don't want to say feel because my feel are different. I think it needs more than just good, but I don't think it's great because I don't know what it is. But it's good. Parentheses fascinating.
I'm gonna go for my thinks. I'm gonna go with good.
Yeah.
For my feelings, I'm going to situate myself in 2007. As a reader of this.
Okay, interesting.
Picking this up, going, okay, this is pretty great. I'm into this. I'm so curious as to what it's going to do.
Great parentheses filled with curiosity.
Yeah. But isn't that exactly what space travel is about?
This is the man that wrote the summary from the last one. He knows how to look inside and find the beauty and the poetry and things. The great out. I was about to say the wild blue yonder, but that's the sky.
Pale blue dot.
I guess so. The endless dark nothing. The space where cars get sent in JoJo Part 2.
But it's the darkness that's filled with everything.
And nothing. And that's what makes it fast. And this UFO, we're going to the moon. We're not even necessarily going to like space. We're going to the moon. We're going to a specific thing in space. And the moon is ripe for human level poetry.
My most accurate prediction, and anybody listening to this who's actually read this can come tell us if I'm accurate.
Well, I'm keep reading.
Well, then you can tell me when this episode comes out if I was right. They're both going to go to the moon. They're going to, through some circumstance, the older brother will become an astronaut at JAXA. One of the other astronauts in America is going to have to drop out for some reason. So he's going to get to go to space at the same time.
Because, it's like he can't go to Mars first because the whole point is that the moon mission is the setup to Mars a billion years, not a billion years, but like a decade or more later.
Now, I think that's going to happen within the first 2 volumes that they'll go to the moon. At the end of the second volume, they'll be on the moon and they will stumble across something that is not man-made, but is constructed. And that's when they'll discover aliens and then it'll pop off from there.
Okay, interesting. I feel like you could spend enough time getting him to astronaut, and you can spend time in astronaut training because this manga seems interested in.
I don't think they're going to take too long.
I mean, maybe if it's even only a chapter, but it feels like a manga that is interested in the realities of being an astronaut.
Yeah, no, it'd be like 2 or 3 chapters.
Like this is a secret craft manga on top of being a secret autobiography, along on top of being not an autobiography because it's space, sci-fi, there's aliens, but like, yeah, I'm intrigued. Great parentheses intrigued question mark.
I think intrigued implies question mark.
That 44 volumes thing is just hanging over my brain uncontrollably because when you read this, you go, this isn't 44 volumes. Not like sometimes when you're like, really? It's not because it's not like a really this went 44 volumes is like a quality judgment. It's just like this doesn't seem like it's a concept that goes 44. Like this is not something that it feels like you can just jazz whatever shonen bullshit you want.
I think for me, it's less that there's 44 volumes and more that it's still coming out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of it because I could have been like, Because if it was, I think, no, if it was still coming out, but it was less volumes, that would make more sense. Because this feels like something that it's like, oh, you get like a chapter maybe every month or every other month or seasonally. Okay. Like this feels like something that's like could move very slowly.
But the beginning of this feels to me like the kind of series where it's like
very personal.
Someone would say to you, oh, there's 40 volumes, but it ended in 2015. And you'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
Really? That makes less sense to me than it being running longer but having less stuff.
No, the idea was that it didn't start in 2007.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying. But like that's what it feels. It feels older to start with than 2007.
I guess so. I mean, literally through the time things, the older brother is my age.
Yeah.
Which I didn't notice until I read the summary and was like saw the year that I wrote down and read, and I was just like, oh, we're the same age. But yeah, I would buy this because I'm just so curious. I'm so intrigued and charmed at the same time.
Yeah.
But just have no sense of how this machine is going to move. It has not yet shown its hand.
Oh.
But it has planted hooks.
I think...
Are you going to borrow my copy?
No, I think I'd buy the first volume at least. Yeah.
To know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would very explicitly not buy the second one until I'd finished the first one and made another. Which is technically always true, but like I feel like this feels more specific of like I genuinely don't know where I'm heading into.
If the only option was like the box set of the first 20 volumes or whatever, I wouldn't.
That'd be too dangerous. That'd be too much of a gamble. But like it's got its hooks in me.
Yeah.
So yeah. This has been Space Brothers, a manga that we enjoyed and was charmed by. I think I'm just more confused.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like that's why I keep coming back to that. I want to respect it more because it deserves it. 'Cause, like I was very charmed by it.
I think
I laughed. I felt things. I was intrigued.
I specifically requested that this be 60 instead of another one.
Yes,
and
what will
I
become
think
61. I think this was a good pick.
I think it's fair to call this a pillar. Even if it's not quite the same level as other ones.
If you stack all of the manga volumes on top of each other, it can hold up a chair like a pillar or a table.
Yeah, why a chair?
What? I don't know. Because usually you stick it. I don't know why I went for a chair because we're sitting down. But yes, and with that, that's Space Brothers. So with that done, Brad, give me them plugs.
Well, as always, we want to thank Segoy Mart for partnering with us. Segoy Mart's a retailer of Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch. All kinds of stuff you can't get outside Japan. Our listeners can use the code APR15 or click the link in the description to get 15% off their first order. And we want to hear from you, so go on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com, and find all of our social links, as well as episode posts where you can leave comments. You can talk to us on Discord, which is the best place to talk to us, as well as our other social media up there. Most of which we just post the episode alerts on, but you can reach out there, but Discord's the best. So you can also find a link to our Patreon, where our supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series we cover on heroin addiction, as well as getting the high quality stereo version of the podcast early, and we've got bonus episodes exclusive to our patrons. And of course, we need to shout out our patrons. So first and foremost, at our noble tier, we have our marquee, Sir Cake Dwarf. At our reincarnator tier, we've got Moon. And last, and definitely not least, at our commoner tier, we've got Rena. So thank you so much to all our patrons.
Thank you for that, Brad. Thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you to all of our listeners. Make sure you listen to all the different podcasts on our feed. And I wonder who's being born now as we record this podcast on today's date, March 7th, 2025. Okay, I wrote down the opening gag, but not how I was going to... I never do the reads on these.
Space Brothers, right?
Space Brothers.
Space Brothers. Space Brothers. They're brothers in space.
I think on today's episode, I think it's that in Pigs in Space.
Wee ba ba beat a bow.
Beep ba ba da bo. Beep ba 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 da bo. On today's episode, Space Brothers, they're brothers in space! Thank you.
I get it.
Yeah, you understand now. I feel like in general I just need to slow down in all deliveries forever. The answer is always slow down.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm excited. But even then, usually slower than I think. Welcome, everybody. June 11th, as crowds packed the theaters and screamed for the first time at the T-Rex and... See, this is why I should slow down. So people can actually hear the words that I'm saying. Did you know that on March 7th, 2015, Bruno Mars's Uptown Funk was #1 on the U.S. charts?
Hey, they did a good job not predicting that we'd have flying cars by now, but I did think that the design of that car was a little ridiculous. Hopefully someone who's going to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Good enough.